Yes, hello, welcome to the presentation. Now, I try to talk about in 40 minutes. I try to explain how we can use AI in the construction sector. It is so broad subject, I know, so I try to give some idea to you about how we are approaching this technology, and generally we try to talk about it. You can ask question using Q&A section. I think you can see it. I try to check them if you have questions. Now I will start with the presentation. Now, yeah, I hope you can see it. Now, as I said, we will talk about AI in construction sector. Briefly, my name is Aydın Özçekiç. I am living in London, and in my background, I am civil engineer, and I am focused on technology side last 5 years, especially in AI solutions and AI consultancy to the construction companies. This brief introduction is enough, I think. You already know there are a lot of technologies on the construction sector, and of course, there's different technologies are using for different purposes, but there are a lot of things like BIM, building information modeling, prefabrication, cloud, common data environment, laser scanning. These are stars which had high ability to execute and high popularity, and some high potential technologies like ERP just for the construction sector, business intelligence, 5G, natural language processing, bring your own device. That kind of approach are so critical for the sector. And some visionaries, robotics, robots, IoT, machine learning, digital twin, blockchain, 3D printing are very visionary new technologies, and they are increase their capabilities. And new solutions are wearables and data science, and the parametric design are coming in near future. So there's a big picture of the technology outlook of the sector. Of course, there are other technologies maybe I forgot, but at least we understand what is going on the sector. So from the AI perspective, everything depends on the data. So all technologies I talk about generally touch the AI in a point. Foundation of the AI is data collection, and this is very critical. Everybody is talking about the data and before the AI. They have to, and you have to collect data properly from the design, construction side, and operation. And that just collection is not enough. As a practitioner, I know that you have to clean it. Clean is just a simple word, but it's not easy because there's a lot of missing data. There are a lot of improper data. So it is a huge work if you are working different data sources, data silos. It's not easy work. Then you have to interpret data. Before going to AI or other algorithms, you should understand your data. You should work on your data. And all engineers, designers, and site teams should understand the importance of data, playing with it. Yeah, I am calling it like playground. You should create a data playground for everybody on the sector, because if you don't understand the importance of the data and the real insight of the data, we couldn't go the real AI solutions easily. And of course, you have the data and you clean that. You can start to use machine learning algorithms on it. There are different types machine learning algorithms. I don't want to be too technical about it, but there are so simple algorithms like linear regression, or very, very complicated things, and deep learning. It goes something like it. But at the end, machine learning algorithms, you can try different algorithms on the data, and you do it because you try to create good insights, good suggestions, and good analyze on the data. And the third important thing is interface. All these kind of tools, AI tools, need an interface to reach the real life. And because you are on the site or on the design office, you need some information, and you need this information in real time. So you can use different interfaces. One of them is chatbots. Chatbots is the bots that working on the chat applications or by voice. You can talk to them like Siri. So you can use chatbots as an AI interface. Why chatbots are truly an AI interface? Because they create an interaction. They are using at the same time an AI foundation, AI infrastructure, which is NLP, natural language processing. And of course, robotic is important because all the AI and the data work we can automatically impact the site using by the robots. So robotic is developing so fast, and in the construction sector, we will see more and more robots in the near future. And of course, there's different applications. You know, the mobile apps, software, all of them can consume machine learning algorithms and the data. But at the end, you have to reach the people with real solutions. Because of that, I try to explain this at the beginning. And main tech requirements. Of course, I don't want to repeat myself about the data, but cloud is so critical. And unfortunately, there is resistance in the construction sector against the cloud. But cloud is so important because not only for data storage, it's important because you have to, if you want to use AI algorithms, especially complicated ones, you need cloud power to make this type of competition. It is so critical. So cloud is so important, and we should break this resistance to the cloud solutions. And 5G is coming. I know there is a lot of construction sites who doesn't have a good internet connection, but this is so critical because if you have a 5G or that good internet on your construction site, you will use different technologies more effectively. Because of that, we should focus on 5G technology because you can use 8K video streaming on site, or you can use video cameras with internet connections directly. So it is very effective and increase all capability on the site, technology capability. So we should focus on 5G and we think about it more. And of course, machine learning. And if you have proper solutions, and if you have a proper infrastructure, machine learning can play an important role in your company. We talk about the data collection and what is going on the construction sector at the moment. We are already using paper forms. Yes, it is decreasing, but we are using it. And in near future, we think that it will be decreased more. And spreadsheets, Excel is highly used in the sector, and it will decrease again. And now new software and commercial software will increase. And of course, the methodology is more important because we need a central silo, central data lakes to manage easily. With web paper forms or spreadsheets, is a separate silos, and it's not easy to reach this data. And we need real-time data, and it is not possible with that kind of solution. So it's of course a transformation of the companies about transformation, but it is so critical for the success of the AI mainly. Yes, if you look to construction sector, there are a lot of data channels we have to reach. If you look to just construction site and design, machinery, employees, contracts, planning tools, ERP specifications, and handbooks, there are a lot of data on the site. So some of this data are managed by document management tools. Some of them are in some software. But at the end, we should use all this data together to combine them and to make some relations between them. I think the critical point is that what I mean, it is important to make to understand our data, as I said in the beginning. And of course, there are some standards, open standards about data, and you know the British standard 1192. And it is important because we should manage all this data flow in a standard way to make better and better data management in the background. Because standardization is so critical. If we don't standardize our data, we can't use our data repetitively, and we couldn't create big data. We couldn't make notifications or suggestions top of this data. So standardization is one of the critical points for the sector. So yes, there are some standards, but we should implement them to our companies or in our projects. And of course, it's come to common data environment. It is one of the biggest problems of the sector, and I think you heard about that. And we need that. And this is a real impact on the construction cost. Maybe you know that rework is so critical on the sector, and in approximately 6% of total construction cost coming from the rework. So we can, if we just use common data environment effectively, we can decrease this rework 48% of all rework, according to FMI research. And as a simple calculation, we can say that 3 or 4% cost decrease just coming from the common data environment. But this is wonderful. This is so important money, and we should make a good investment to common data environment, and we should create this properly. And of course, there are a lot of pitfalls in the data collection. Digitalization, a big problem in the construction sector, and the cloud usage, as we talk about, low standardization in workflows. Automatization is a big problem, and coordination problems may be one of the biggest problem between design, construction, and facility management. It's so classical, everybody blame each other. And no internet connection in a lot of sites, on the part of the sites, it's important. And cultural resistance to new technologies in construction sector, we can see that in different countries, it's the same. There's a BIM. We can talk about BIM, but it can be without data. It's interesting, but sometimes just people are using BIM as a visual purposes. Unfortunately, it doesn't carry any data, any proper data. So it is very, very bad usage of the technology, I think. So because of that, it is a big pitfall for us. And no common data exchange procedures. Of course, this is not just for the company, and companies, subcontractors, and of course, material suppliers. There is a lot of players who are affected from this new change. And of course, we work in the construction activities. Again, we are doing same thing, and we are solving problems. Unfortunately, not a effective way. Yes, if we talk about the cloud, I don't want to repeat myself, but cloud is critical because of the security is important. As you know, cloud will provide a huge security, and you can add new capabilities. I think this is another important thing. If you use a cloud, you can put different layers of the data analyze and machine learning easily, and the implementation start to be easier for you. One of the advantages is that for the cloud. If you don't use the cloud, it takes too much time to that kind of things, and you have to spend a lot of money to the research and development, and it can be meaningless for a company who don't want to spend that kind of money. And we talk about it. 5G empowers IoT and AI. I just want to talk about a bit Internet of Things. Internet of Things are so critical, but basically it's sensors, and it is about the collecting data. If we are talking about the big data, we are talking about generally IoT, because IoT creates a huge data about the location, about the weather conditions, about the humidity. There are a lot of different things can be collected by IoT sensors. So because of that, you can, for example, energy again is an important thing. So if you collect this data using the IoT, then you have to analyze it. And IoT is so integrated with the internet power, for 5G, because of this important, because if you have 5G, you can create an infrastructure for a lot of sensors, a lot of tools you can use on the site. So it is important from that point. Yes, there is a case study of 5G case study. I will share with you after the this webinar. I don't want to enter details, but briefly, Taylor Construction from Australia has tried 5G on their construction sites, and it created an important impact on the site. We can say it increased technology usage. People are like to use new technologies if you have 5G power in the background, because it is so fast. You can make a stream on the side. You can look all beam files and other kind of documents so easily, and you can use augmented reality really fluently. So that kind of thing is so important. I will share with you this case study. I don't want to now give some details of it, but it is important case if you like to learn more about what can 5G do to your website for construction site. Now it's a bit theoretical, I know that, but everybody is talking about these things, and they are a bit, seems a bit confusing. In general, I just want to give a brief idea. Artificial intelligence is general name of all these things, programs with the ability to learn and reason like humans. And machine learning is subset of it, algorithms with the ability to learn without being explicitly programmed. And deep learning is the subset of machine learning, which is using artificial neural networks. And it's basically focused on big data. So if you think like that, maybe it can be very concrete for us to talk about that kind of terms. And there is different technologies in AI and different infrastructures, different things. It's not just for the construction sector, of course, but yet we can use all these technologies in our problems. In briefly, machine learning, of course, deep learning, predictive analytics, translation, classification, information extraction, all of them are fit by natural language processing, and speech to text, text to speech, expert systems, planning, optimization, and robotics, image recognition, and machine vision. All of them are so important for different sides of the construction sector, from the design to operation. We should can focus on different technologies. I don't want to, of course, it's not easy to enter all details of it, but now at the moment you are using all these technologies in your iPhone or in your computer, like Google Translate, like Siri. You can use that kind of technologies already. We can use these technologies. Now these technologies are more easy to implement, so we can use all these technologies to the construction sector more easily. Okay, now if we come to the construction sector and we start to talk about it, how we can develop an AI project in construction sector. Of course, it is a basic project management now, because first of all you should have a problem. Problem is the core of the starting point. And then, of course, data analysis, machine learning model, and test and continuous improvement. The AI's advantage is it is so flexible. You can use it for the different solutions and for different data structure. You can use different algorithms. First of all, you should focus on problem. If you should focus on just technologies, as I talked about before, for example, I want to use natural language processing, it's not the case. You have to focus on where can I use this technology, how I can benefit of it. So I think this is a bit better approach to the technology, and I think this is one of the mistakes, because sometimes there can be overselling about the AI, and it's possible because if you don't focus on the problem, just focus on the technology, you start to create unnecessary solutions, and you have to give some big promises to make a show to affect the decision makers. And we can recommend the point, asking proper questions. Everybody leaves problem on the construction sector because it's an unproductive sector. So we should ask proper questions to develop AI solution. And what I mean from the proper questions, general questions is meaningless. You have to ask real life problems to the AI. For example, I want to increase our productivity is not a question. I want to optimize my schedule is not a question. You have to be more specific, because AI works on the data, and you should understand that if you make the problem bigger and bigger and bigger, data starts to be meaningless, or you need a lot of data, and it is not easy to create just in a project or in a company. You have to you need a industry-wise data to create a big solution. So please be aware of it. If you ask little questions, you will be need a little data. You can solve this with your data. It's more possible to solve with. So where first of all we should analyze our data. I think I should ask this question: do you know what kind of data you have at the moment? I think you should know that. You can use this data analysis to improve job site processes and productivity, reducing risk and increasing safety, and being smarter and winning more work, and transition from analytics to predictive analytics. I think this is a critical point. But after, I want to give some example about it. How we understood our data. I think this is a good question. These are from our Botmore Technologies, one of the cases. We develop some dashboards for our customer, of course. So they want to see the BIM performance on the design side. So now you see that total man-hour by disciplines, which the BIM team is spending, and the total edited element number of disciplines. Why this is important? Because first of all, you understand what is going on with my team. How is the BIM modeling is going on, and what is the performance. And if you start to show your data in the dashboards, you start to use the standard dashboards for your company, it starts to be easier for everybody to understand the data and then asking the right questions. For example, of course, I didn't create this case, but for example, now mechanical works working, total man hours is here, and edited element number is here. You make some think about it. And say, you can say that I have a problem in the mechanical modeling side. How can I solve that? And you can create that kind of interesting questions for your companies. Other thing is, for example, BIM performance, BIM file size changes in this dashboard you are seeing. And other is the daily critical warning change. And you are seeing this, and you understand what is going on in your model and how, for example, size is changing of the model. And when there is an anomaly on this change, you can catch them. And if you do that with the dashboards, then you start, in a point, you say that this dashboard is not enough for me. Okay, you say that, oh, this is a huge problem and I need more and more power to solve this. And this power is AI. So in a point, if you don't understand from this dashboard some critical points, then you can create an algorithm in the background to make some notifications for you, or to make some forecasts for you about the future. So as I said, if you don't understand your data and if you don't work with your data, it's not easy to go to AI in proper way. This is another example for safety issues by location. Another data analysis we made for one of our customer, and you see different issue numbers changing for the location. As you see, in the 6th floor, it is the maximum, and in the ground floor, it's minimum. Of course, it's depends on your project, but it is so you see some notifications now, some warnings here about your project, and if you start to understand that kind of things, you are using the data. Really, it is a starting point for you. IoT powered excavator location data. We try to put sensors to excavators, and we try to understand where are the excavators. It's a simple question again. And real time, we chase all excavators on the site. So it gives you an important data in the background because you understand where the excavators are working. And this is triggering different questions about safety, about performance, about productivity, and these numbers and these questions are increasing. So first of all, as I see, when you see this graph, you try to think about it. And this is the personal look. Employee location data. Where is my workers? Where are they working? And we are tracking it. Of course, there is some problem about personal data sharing in there. Of course, you have to take their acceptance about this usage. In some countries, it's not easy to use, but at the end, this is a way to use the technology. And another example, everybody creating issues on the site, and the subject of the issues are important. and we are using this dashboard for another customer, and automatically we are making tagging of the issues. I think this is interesting because people are creating issue, and we are automatically in the background using machine learning tagging it, and we are trying to make some classification for the issues. Because if we understand classification of the problems on the side, then we can create some solution proposals for our customers. Yes, this is some dashboard examples. Of course, maybe you are using dashboards, but you have to customize it. You have to play with them, and it's important to understand the data, real importance of the data. Now I want to go a bit further and AI in the decision making. Now you know that machine learning algorithms can help make the data beneficial to support decision in the construction side. And of course, data is critical, as I saw, and business intelligence is the second step. And we can say that the analytical tool, like dashboards, then you can start to use machine learning. And we are using different technologies in the background for the AI. As I said, just I want to repeat it, but because it's important to understand, and we should speak same language. We should be on same page. I talk about NLP, natural language processing. You can think it's like talking and hearing of the AI. AI, if you talk with the AI, and AI try to understand the context of your language. We call that natural language processing. And it is important for us, not just only for interaction. You know, on the construction sector, there are a lot of specifications. There are a lot of documents. And you want to summarize it, or you want to find specific parts of it which answer specific questions. And NLP works for that. NLP understands context of the document and then make some summary or make some suggestion about that part of the document. I think this is a wonderful tool, and we are working on it too in our research and development area, and it creates a good interface for us to understand the documents, because we have to decide so fast, and we need the data, especially from the large specifications, so fast. And a second important thing, and I think you know that image recognition and OCR technologies, and you know that vision detection and vision labeling, that kind of things is one of the AI most powerful side. And there are wonderful libraries out there which you can use it automatically, and they are labeling things. Of course, you can focus on the construction site, and it can label construction items too. And this is for the decision making. I think there's interesting information there. In each construction site, team member is taking at least 20 critical decisions per day. I think this is so important. And how they are decide that? With their experience. They couldn't analyze. They haven't time to do that. So and 35% of these decisions is in 1 hour, and 45% of these decisions are instant. This is unbelievable. And we know construction sector, but when I saw these numbers, I feel worse, because you are on the construction site and you have to decide instantly to an important, a critical thing. So you need help. Everybody needs help in the construction site and in the construction sector. And what the people are using now, not AI, they are using their experience. Okay, this is cool. If you are an experienced engineer, you know a lot of things, but experience always makes mistakes. And so you need support. Of course, AI doesn't take the place of experience, but it can support you to make a better decisions, or it can feed you with a bit better information. Now, another example from our pilot project, we make an integration with Oracle Primavera, BIM Autodesk, BIM 360, Excel, and a document management tool and IoT sensors. We use beacons, and we create a project knowledge base for one of our customer. And this project knowledge base linked to digital assistant. What I mean from digital assistant is a chatbot. Chatbot is like, it's like Siri, or you are using, I think, WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger. It's like a digital friend of you. And it tries to answer your questions or give some notifications to you. It's basically, you can think like that. So we create a project knowledge base, What I mean from the project knowledge base, we reach all these systems and we can collect data from there. And using this project knowledge base, if you ask some questions to the digital assistant about this data, this project data, the project knowledge digital assistant takes these answers from this data. This automatically data transfer using the digital assistant interface. There's an AI just in the digital assistant communication with you. It tries to understand context of your questions. But there's not, the other things are just data transmission. This is the backbone of the project, of course. Okay, there's a machine learning algorithms here. What they are doing that now we have a project knowledge base and we can try some predictions and notifications for you. But of course, which predictions and which notifications do you need? You should analyze it firstly. And we see that, for example, for this project, we make some productivity predictions about especially concrete pouring and phone work activities. We start to make some predictions using machine learning algorithms. It's not so complicated algorithms, frankly, but they are working well because if you are an engineer, you know that it's simply a regression analysis. But then it starts to work because it's fed by data coming from all the systems, and it works. And we make some safety precautions to start to do it. It's a step-by-step process, but in this at the same time, we create a general construction knowledge base, as you see in there. What is that? But this is the general technical questions about the construction. This is the building construction, and you can ask questions about technical things to this assistant as a Q&A, and it tries to help you by the digital assistant. So why we use digital assistant? Because it creates a new easy interface for us, and also it feeds our project knowledge base too, because we ask some questions about, for example, project progress, and we took this information to project knowledge base, then sent it to, if it is about Primavera, we are sent to Oracle Primavera. So I think it's a good relation and good dynamism in this plan. It's different figure of the same project. Now it's a different figure, as I said. Different site teams are using our digital assistant, technical office team, design team, and construction site team, as you see. Now I don't want to repeat myself. And the results, and interestingly, we increase, for example, traditional activity management workflow 7 times faster. What I mean that is interesting. It's not easy to measure that kind of things, but first of all, we try to understand how people are, for example, update the activity on the Primavera. And of course, it takes more time. And if you use a digital assistant, it will be very fast. And of course, we try to compare them, and we try to make give some figures about it. And 5 times faster than traditional issue management protocol. And issue management is an interesting thing because it's critical for the construction sector to solve the issues early. And I think this is an important sign how that kind of technologies can be used and make life easier. Now, on the other side, you are seeing some productivity safety issues, unsolved issues, and machinery idle time figures. They are KPI, key performance indicators. Some of them are satisfied, some of them we are working on. So, but it is the target, so it's important for our project. So I want to put here to show some idea about it. There is some example of our digital assistant. It's not so interesting. It's normally you are asking some question and it tries to answer it. But if you like to try it, I can send you some links and you can try it. Our issue management assistant, and you can use individually too, not need a team. If you are using with team, is okay. Basically, it tries to take answers from you, asking some questions, and at the end, it creates a flow for you. Yeah, just I want to turn back from there. Yeah, sorry. Yes. Okay. Yes, you use digital assistants in the center of these relations. And it's a proactive solution, as I said. And what I don't say, yeah, it gives notifications. Of course, it uses different data, and it's a good interface for our customers generally. But of course, this is not a one solution. Uh, Image recognition is another important thing we talk about because we are using pictures and videos on construction sites so much. So image recognition and tagging, AI-powered tagging is a wonderful thing for us because, for example, just from a picture, you can understand how many people are working there, how many people are using helmet, and there are wonderful solutions in the sector about this. And it can decrease workload of inspector by 80%. I think it is a wonderful thing. So please try it. And it's not our solution, not Botmore solution, but of course there are a lot of solutions on the market. That is cool to collect data, and it's because it helps you collect enormous of data from the site, and then you can start this data, combine the other data sources. You can create interesting new solutions by machine learning algorithms. And Build does in one of the startups using that kind of things, and you can scan construction site just walking, okay? And it's a wonderful thing because you see everything, and all the camera is taking all the videos, and then data is sending to system labeled databases, and you can make a lot of things in the background. I think it's wonderful thing. Facial recognition. I couldn't say facial recognition is another important thing. I think you know from the iPhones. It's not about the construction sector, but I think it can be very important because security is so important on the sector. So you can use facial recognition for the security purposes. Of course, you can understand your team's performance using that kind of things. Of course, it is about again personal acceptance to use that kind of things is important again. Yes, another thing is design recommendations. This topic, maybe you know that in the modeling and that kind of things, people are want to use recommendation systems like spell checker of the design. Okay, when you are making designing something, automatically there can be some suggestions to you. This is a dream of all designers for a long time, but unfortunately, it is not mature at the moment. Why? Because it needs a lot of data. There's a big problem, as I said in the beginning, and to solve that kind of problems, you need a lot of data. I said lot of, but it's a huge data. So just one company, it's not possible, and all companies all come together as an open data environment to create that kind of solutions. I show a Sweco example. Of course, these are small examples. It makes some suggestions about precast wall and when you are designing it. I think it's cool, of course, in the design stage, and that kind of example will increase. Just you should be aware of it, and it's about, of course, data sources and common data environment. That kind of open data, that kind of things developed, we can conclude that kind of solutions. And theoretically in the background for the BIM data labeling, we can use AI again, or machine learning more specifically. What I mean, this is you make a model, and there are different objects in the model, and of course you are human and you can make mistakes. And when you do these mistakes, generally if you don't categorize or subcategorize the items, you lose data on the BIM. Okay, so because of that, automatic correction on this categorization make your model in higher quality. And of course it is cool because it's like a cycle. If you use that kind of solutions, your model become better, and when your model become better, then it creates a new data for make a better data labeling. So it's like that cycle. So if you can create that kind of cycles, it is a huge solution for a company or for a sector. And of course, another example coming from Skanska, you heard about it. They are working with Volvo, and they try to create to solve the problem of the excavators. The company Skanska say that excavators, loaders, and haulers can waste up 40% of their idling while operators waiting for their slot to work, and that optimizing the deployment of machinery through AI would cut emissions, cost, and boost productivity. Perfect question, which looking for an answer from AI. I think it's perfect, and they focus on this problem specifically, and they solve it using the sensors and doing some optimization in the background. As you see, a contractor working with an equipment supplier, machinery supplier Volvo, it's important that kind of working because construction companies know-how, but at the same time, companies like Volvo have a lot of data. So if you combine that kind of things, you can create good solutions, effective solutions for the site. So you can look at kind of problems easily to increase the productivity, especially for the equipment and machinery side. There is a lot of opportunity because already there are a lot of sensors there, and you can increase the number of the sensors, and you can collect data about the machines, equipments, their energy consumption, and a lot of things. So you can create interesting models there. So it's a good subject to work on. And tender optimization. It is interesting for me because I work on the tender preparation for 5 years in the beginning of my career. So it is not easy process. I know that because there is a lot of problem there. You have to decide so fast, and these are so risky. You have to solve that kind of problems there. And so AI-driven tendering, there's a two side of tendering. Of course, one is the tender preparation side, which I work there. In there, you can make a fast tender preparation using AI, and you can understand the risk of the project using AI algorithms. I can give an example about that. This is my personal project, and I work on tender cost and the real cost of the projects in the Middle East. And I try to compare tender prices, tender price of winner company, and the last cost of the project. So I try to understand how the cost is changing, of course, in that point. And I create an algorithm in the background to understand which country is more risky. For example, in the Saudi Arabia, if you enter, for example, $5 million project, you have a risk 10%. Of course, I now just saying in example, but I try to find that this is a good case for the AI, because AI sometimes can be not so accurate because it's using data, and data is not so always not a good distribution. So, but at the end, it gives you a clue about the risk. So I use it for the different geographical location risk analyze, and it works wonderful. And of course, it doesn't give you a proper number about your tender, maybe in the future, but not now. But it gives a good idea about which country have a higher risk in your tender process. Of course, you can think as a location or city, whatever. But this is working. In the other side of tender evaluation process, I think it is easier because you have a lot of data coming from, if you are making a tenders systematically, you are collecting a lot of tender data, and if you use this data, you can understand anomalies easily. You can say that this tender is not a normal in a normal distribution, so there's a problem there, and you can understand what will be your budget real budget, how can be your real budget. I think this is important to use that kind of solutions in that point. Yeah. And the procurement. The procurement is, I want to touch a bit material suppliers and other suppliers in the construction sector. That they are one of the real data source of the sector, like machine product producers, manufacturers, material procurement and material manufacturer producers are so important for the sector because they are providing important data about the material properties, and material production, and all this data should be carried to the construction site, construction sector, to make more effective decision support. Generally, suppliers have a good data in the back because they are manufacturers. They have a factory, and these factories, they are using robots and that kind of technologies, and they are good data about the production and the features of their products, of course. So, and of course, sustainability of their product, about carbon footprint and that kind of things. We should carry all these different suppliers' data to the system, to our project data. Combine them with our project data, it will be it will create an impact on different sides of the project, from the sustainability to productivity, and for the resource management. I think they are so important. So this integration is so possible. So you can work on it. You can work on it too. And AI can play an important role here to make early predictions about your buying decisions, again, and your resource management. And this can create important cost cuts in the projects. Now I try to complete it. AI strategy. Nobody is talking about real AI strategy on the construction sector. We are always talking about, as I did, about the solutions. It's important because we try to understand what can be done, what are our options. Yes, this is important. But for the AI strategy, we should understand our company, our data, our needs. So identifying use cases is important, but don't focus on the technology, as I said. Focus on the problems. And to create a smarter construction services. This is a competitive advantage for the contractor. It will be. Our sector in near future will be disrupted by somebody, some players, or outside of the construction sector maybe. So we should take our place, take our position for that. So we should think that how we can make a smarter construction for our customers, which are sometimes governments, sometimes private companies, whatever. We should do that, and we optimize construction process. And in that point, automatization is so important. Now, I am working with my company is working in an European Union project with different partners, from the robotics to other things. And we are trying to automate construction process. I think this is one of the most important things. And again, it depends on AI, and it depends on data. But if you don't automate the system, we will lose a lot of time with this process. And connected with the data structure, as a company, we should solve our data structure system, and we couldn't give these critical decisions by helping of third-party companies, like, for example, Autodesk, Trimble, can't decide our data structure. We should decide our data structure, then work with these companies. Of course, there are wonderful solutions. We have to work them, but data is so critical. And where is our data? Who is managing our data? And what can we do with our data? And this is so important. You don't give just your data to a company, to third party. It's not possible, of course. And this is my recommendation, of course. Select 3 quick win AI cases for your company. I think this is the best way to start. Select proper technology. now technologies are more easily implement. There is not an entry barrier for new technologies because you can, if you, for example, if you are using Google AI solutions, you can make, for example, a visual detection tool just one developer, for example. Of course, there is some details on it, but you can do that. There's some pay-as-you-go services which are so cost-effective and so you can easily implement them. And pilot and test. It is important. You have to make some pilots and test it, and of course you go live, try it, and use it, take the results. I think these are so important to understand what is going on. Just watching the other companies' pilots or trying is not a solution. It's a good way to try new technology. Thank you. I talk too much. I know that. I try to explain different points for the AI in the construction sector. Of course, we can talk more and more. But briefly, I try to explain there's a lot of way we can go, a lot of things we can do. But first of all, we start from a point. I don't try to make a promotion of my company. Of course, I show some pilots and results from there, but there are a lot of startups trying to do wonderful things about AI and data. And of course, there's a big companies trying to do. So first of all, we should try it. We should change the sector together, transform the sector together, and we should be more digitalized, and we should solve the problems. And lastly, I want to talk about it. It's important for me. Coordination so important for the sector and for the companies, construction companies. So we should increase the coordination for the different parties working together to solve the problem. Because in just looking for the project by project solutions, it doesn't possible to use AI properly, and you have to need plug-and-play solutions in that point, but that doesn't work for you because plug-and-play solutions just provides you, of course, some more advantage for more data to use, better things, but that's all. So I talk too much again, and if you have questions, I try to answer. If you can you can ask whenever you want. If you have question, just type to Q&A. I just wait a minute. I think you don't have a question. I hope you like it. Thank you very much for your time. I'll take your 1 hour. Yes, I took. If you have a question, please reach me. I'd like to talk to you. And thank you very much. See you. Bye-bye. Oh, there's a question. From your experience, which discipline is quickly? Oh, it's not easy question. Now, of course, you are talking about which discipline is quickly win. I want to say the question from your experience, which discipline is quickly win? This is not easy question, as I said, but if you look to construction sector, especially in the engineering side, design side, there are a lot of things to do because, for example, mechanical engineers are doing a lot of wonderful things about the data at the moment because all this data is already using in the operation side. So if you focus that area and for the mechanical side, we can do wonderful things. Can create good solutions there because there are a lot of data, they are labeled, and generally in the material suppliers in the mechanical side has a good specifications, and we can combine this data. We can make automatical design, for example. Already there are some solutions for automatical design of the mechanical things, but it can be developed faster. So there is a lot of way to go there. And of course, in the planning side, we have a good chance to. I hope I can explain. If you're not, you can reach me. Please reach. Yes, there's another question, or it's okay. Yes. If you don't have a question, I will conclude. I don't want to take your time more with my Turkish accent. I'm trying my best. Whatever. See you. There's a question. When I say see you, there's a question coming. I struggle to get internal external stakeholder to adapt new data generating. Yes, I struggle to get internal and external stakeholder to adapt to new data generating collection process and to clean up current data. Have you seen positive change recently in North America, and do you think there is something we can do to speed that up? Yes, it's not easy. Especially, first we should change the mindset. There is some works on the North America, especially. I'm in London, but in the North America, there's a lot of work on the common data environment, and I like that approach and open data. These are important concepts, and people are working on it, and it is cool. And other thing, we need to understand. Yes, everybody is talking data, but this is not about just the security. Data security people are talking too much about IT guys talking too much about security, but at least we need more more people to understand, more people from the operation side understand the importance of data. For example, project managers, for example, designers, for example, engineers should understand deeper the importance of data and to play with the data. Because of that, I say the playground. Play with your data to do that. I think you are doing maybe in Excel and other places, whatever, but play it. Show the people importance of the data. This is important point for the change. From the bigger perspective, from the big picture, we need, of course, need the owners or the governments more pressure on the contractors, because they don't want the data. Well, for example, they talk about the BIM. Yes, it's important, BIM, building information modeling. We like that, but they don't talk about how the BIM, which data will be in this BIM. Okay, they don't talk about this exactly. There are some, of course, BIM implementation planning. There's a 100-page document. Nobody reads it. This is not I'm talking about. I'm really talking about, do we use the data in the BIM? No. So government is forcing to do that now, and contractors don't just make models. Don't work on the data. I give a long answer maybe, but it's not easy question again. But in the North America, people are more open to new things. I like that. In Europe, we are trying to make some things slowly and more standardization. We think that, but we are moving slowly. But you are more agile, I think, because of North American Canadian approach in this point. Yeah. If there's another question I can answer, I'm here. No problem for me. I think it's okay. You can reach me again. I said can reach me from social media or by mail, whichever you like. Thank you very much. See you soon. Thank you for your time. Bye bye.